talking Dolphins. Dolphins defeat the Buccaneers 20-17. Now, there was a lot of positive things to take away from this game. There was a couple of negative things to take away from this game, man. So, Rod, let's just go ahead and get your overall thoughts and opinions on this game before we get into the fin or fail, brother. What you got for me, dog?
So look, Herb, you know how it is. When it comes to the Dolphins, this season has been a roller coaster, topsy turvy kind of season, but ultimately, it all leads to the same path that it always leads to, the path to 500, Herbie. That's where the Dolphins always lead to. But look, this was a game that started off frustrating, Herbie. The first drive, there was a holding penalty that killed us. We basically accrued -6 yards in that drive, and I thought to myself, here we go again. And then, to my surprise, the homie Ewers, uh, he finds his buddy Theo Weiss for a 63-yard touchdown in broken coverage. And the offense, at least in the second quarter, they got rolling, right? And we got to see, for the first time maybe ever in McDaniel's offense, a quarterback other than Tua actually make this offense look like a functional offense, right? So it was nice to see the offense get to a flow in the first half. The defense really played well throughout the day, Herbie. They made their mistakes, right? Like, for whatever reason, these guys can't tackle a hurt Baker Mayfield, right? Quentin Bell had him dead to rights. Baker escapes. He gets out. But, I mean, the defense, for the most part, outside of a freak final drive where they basically marched down the field 90 yards in 1 minute, for 59 minutes of the game, they held the Bucs to 10 points. And a lot of that had to do with turnovers, right? Baker threw some ugly, ugly interceptions. He had a sack fumble courtesy of Bradley Chubb, Quentin Bell with the recovery. And look, Herbie, the Dolphins this season, I think maybe the frustrating thing for Dolphin fans is we've seen the potential that this team could have been, right? And it goes to, and there's a lot of things people can point to, right? You can point to the GM who's gone now. You can point to the former starting quarterback. You can point to the coach, right? As for the defense, the way the defense played the first 8 weeks of the season, they've improved mightily. So this game was just another game to remind us of what could have been. But considering the stakes that the Bucks had, and here's the crazy part: despite the fact that they lost, they're not out of it, right? Like it just pays to be in a bad division. It just does.
The,
It pays.
yeah, the NFC South has been bad for as long as I can remember, dog. I think Jesus Christ was alive the last time that the NFC South was a good division. It's been that long, dog. Like,
Bruh.
it's been a long, long time. And brother, like, I just, it does pay to be in a bad division. You seen the Bills take advantage of a bad division for a long time before the Patriots have reemerged. You've seen the Patriots take advantage of a bad division for 20
20
years
years.
straight.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, this Miami Dolphins team, if the Bills are going to be who they are, the Patriots are going to be who they are, they don't have that kind of luxury, right? But what they do have is something that I found, it put a smile on my face, man. I seen building blocks, right? Like, that's all you could ask for right now. Like you said, F the draft picks. That ship is sailed. You guys won too many games. Like,
Yeah.
there's either you go all in with the tank or you try to win and finish on a strong note. You guys are out of any type of real serious draft position. And like I've seen multiple people say, and multiple people bring up the point, it don't matter where y'all draft. Y'all pick bad people anyway. Because when it comes to the Dolphins, y'all can't develop them anyway. So it doesn't matter when you draft, who you draft, at what point do you draft. It's about development.
Not until you change
So what
everybody.
you
Yeah.
can do is finish on a good note, finish strong, ruin other people's lives, and root to finishing strong. The Bucks tried to win this game, which is why this was an impressive victory for the Miami Dolphins. This wasn't the Jets. This wasn't the Las Vegas Raiders. This wasn't the Cincinnati Bengals, who y'all unfortunately got your ass beat. We ain't gonna talk about that. You feel me? We ain't gonna talk about that. But this was a serious team trying to win their own division. So they wanted to beat the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins didn't let them down.
Mhm.
So with that, let's get into some of your fin and fails, man. So Rod, who are your fins and who are your fails of this week? Since we are going to go ahead and start on a positive note, let's get your fails out the way so we can finish with your fins, man. So who are some of your first fails?
Right, oh my brother. My fail. And I only have one fail. Shout out to the homie JPS who has just made an appearance. I'll address your bills in a second. My fail, Herbie, is the fail that has been the most maybe consistent fail of this season. Mike McDaniel, Herbie. Why do you say is Mike McDaniel the fail when the Dolphins won? Well, let me tell you guys something. When you are trying to convince me that my coach should remain the coach, maybe I should see some improvements in some of the things he does. But what I saw today, Herbie, is the same thing I've seen from McDaniel all season long in terms of the way the team plays in their discipline, right? The penalties are drive killers, Herbie. A part of the reason why we couldn't get much going in the second half was because we kept shooting ourselves in the foot. We actually shot ourselves in the foot early to start the game with a holding call on the first drive and a false start that if Quinn doesn't hit Theo for that 63-yard touchdown, then the second drive would have been a wash too. So, the penalties, the undisciplined nature of this football team is something that has been a constant under McDaniel's watch. The other point I want to make about McDaniel and why he is my one and only fail on today, Herbie. Bro, what is up with the second half offense? Like, Herbie, all season long, the Dolphins can perform in the first quarter, they can perform in the second quarter, at times even in the fourth quarter. But in the third quarter, Herbie, we are like the worst third quarter team in football. And once again, in the second half, the Dolphins could only muster 3 points. And, I think I'm just not quite sure what happens when the Dolphins go into the locker room at halftime, Herbie. Or I don't understand whether if Mike McDaniel's game plans only last for a half, and then in the second half, he's just like, all right, guys, it's like just throwing dice. Right? Like I don't get that. But yeah, my fail for today, Herbie, Mike McDaniel, the head coach.
All right. That is a quality fail, and he absolutely deserves it because my note for the game, and I saw it, which speaks to something that we have been talking about for weeks. But before we get to that, man, we got to give a shout out to the homie. Homie JPS is in the building. Man. He's crashing out. The homie is crashing out. The homie is crashing out, dog. Like he had a tough football Sunday today, man. Your Bills got the ass.
Drake May is mid. Let me tell you something. That mid guy's about to win MVP.
That mid guy is about to win the division from you guys.
He did.
In his second year.
It's
over. Yeah, they did win because they lost. Yeah.
They took the crown back. The goddamn Patriots. JPS, how could you?
Can't
the Bills had one job.
One job, fam.
Patriots away from the crowd.
One job, fam. One job. That's it. They had one job. But back to Mike McDaniel before we get into our fins, because again, the Dolphins won, so we want to finish on a positive note. Right? Let's go. Mike McDaniel. The Dolphins scored 17 points in the first half. The Dolphins scored 3 points in the second half. Going into the game, going into the second half, they had the freaking they had the scroll, or they had the stats that indicate how bad the Dolphins do in the second half. And what did Mike Daniels do? Lived up to his reputation by mustering 3 points in the second half again. Like, god damn. Like, why? It doesn't make sense. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. So, but again, we don't want to get too caught up on Mike McDaniels, bro. We got plenty of time in the offseason to discuss him, man. Let's talk positively, bro. Who are your fins of the week, Rod?
All right, Herbie, got my fail out the way. So my fins, and I'll start with other sides of the ball, Herbie. I'll start with special teams, Herbie. The special teams today was really, really good, man. This was probably one of the best days our special team has had. When you consider the returns that we had a lot of there was a bunch of times where, especially in the second half, right, Malik Washington had a return that pretty much restarted on the Bucs side of the field, right. We had the block punt with Zeke Biggers, right, our big rookie. You know what I mean? And shout out to the rookies too. They weren't on my fins list, but let me just shout out all the young rookies, man. They all made plays, right. And then we had the block field goal. Jake Bailey laid somebody out. I mean, the special teams today was on point, damn near outstanding. So I have to give my props to the special teams. Next on the fins list, Herbie, got to give props to the defense. And I know the defense they didn't have an A+ performance, maybe even an A- performance today. Maybe it's more of a B plus. But look, when you consider the fact that they held the Buccaneers offense, which is a decently potent offense, when you hold an offense like that to 10 points for 59 minutes, and then they have a freak drive at the end of the game, which really didn't mean anything because they had no timeout. So, unless they got the onside kickback, which I hate the fact that you have to announce that now, that you have to announce the onside kick, but that's where we're at, right? But shout out to the defense for the turnovers. You know what I mean? Jason Marshall had his first interception of his career, another one of our young rookies. You had Ashton Davis, who showed up big. And then, of course, Bradley Chubb, man, with another sack, and Quentin Bell with the recovery, man. So our defense was making plays against the Bucs passing offense. Bucky Irvin rushed 9 times for 19 yards. We were able to completely just blank out their running game. So they didn't have a running game. They had to rely on a passing game, and we ended up forcing Baker into some mistakes. So shout out to the defense, man, for once again, even though they weren't perfect, they had their blunders. They what I'm saying, they bent, but they didn't break, right? And
No,
then
oh, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry, I
no,
didn't mean to cut you off.
you know who's coming next. You know who's coming
Okay,
next.
bet.